All right, hello, Todd Bryden here. Uh, you know what? I had a chance yesterday. So 𝗬𝗀 Shah, CTO of 𝗚𝗶, he returned from India, and we made a wonderful sign. And we were supposed to hold it at the airport, and we didn't make it to the airport in time. We were a little late. So basically he was waiting out there for us. It was the opposite of what we were supposed to be doing. And so we didn't get to hold out the sign. It was a sad experience, but we're excited to welcome 𝗬𝗀 home. He's staying at the place for a little bit while he gets settled back in Canada. And he went back to visit some family after a long time through the pandemic. And then with COVID, with another outbreak, that trip that I think was supposed to be maybe 3 months ended up being like 7 months. And so he's back. Glad to have him back. And for me, there's definitely an excitement and energy in working together in person that is hard to replicate. You know, a lot of companies obviously moving towards remote work, but I think there's something really magical about working together in person, solving problems in person, and that physical presence, that physical energy starts to stimulate the brain in a lot of different ways. And sometimes it's even just as simple as going on a walk with someone and what that can do for your mind and your problem solving. So welcome back, 𝗬𝗀. Great to have you here. A couple things that I want to talk about today. Some very interesting news. And Facebook, Meta, whatever the name is, releases access to this large language model. And from my understanding, it's not completely open. There is, I don't know if it's an application, but researchers are basically able to access this in sort of an open source manner and understand a little bit more about how these systems work. And I think that has been one of the challenges with, I think, AI in general, but especially these large language models. You just don't know how they're coming to the output that they're coming to. And so 175 billion parameter language model. So that means, it was trained on a lot of data. This matches what GPT-3 has done. And I think that was intentional and purposeful, and different ways that people are using these systems, but really becomes this sort of multi-purpose, what people consider almost sentient AI that allows you to analyze text, extract things, but also generate net new text. That's where we've seen things from 𝗏𝗀 come out from OpenAI, where you're actually able to generate images. And really these large language models seem to be a big part of what the future of AI will be with. And there's definitely some skepticism here. And I think especially when a company like Meta, like Facebook, releases something like this with the track record that they've had, flags are raised. And what's the true intention here? And we've had obviously Facebook as a platform, many of the applications that is in their ecosystem be free. But there are consequences to that. And obviously that was the advertising model that emerged through Facebook and has caused lots of problems. What happens here, and also what does the future look like? So available, yes, academic researchers, a government, civil society, and academic organizations, and then research laboratories, pre-trained modeled, and the code to train to use them. Message right from AI, Facebook AI Labs, Meta itself. Again, this is sort of a very exciting time for AI, and that at least people are excited about the effort that Meta has made here to do this, and we'll see what comes. But overall, the ability to interact with these systems, to understand them better, allows for a better level of transparency and more open understanding of how this technology is being generated and then applied and then used, and then what are the ramifications of that. And this is not the only company. Most people are familiar with OpenAI, their GPT now 3 model, Codex, which is doing, and then their work with 𝗏𝗀 as well too, from an image generation part. And this has sort of this parallel, which is they are a private company. They are you are paying to use this. Now again, difference with Facebook here to say this is for non-commercial use, the way that you can access this model and mount it yourself and everything, but still there are questions around the ramifications of a company building models like this and then releasing them. And then I've had the pleasure, the fun to be able to play with some of these systems early in their beta. And you could plug in some information and get some pretty whack responses, things that are uncorrelated, downright rude, downright scary. And I think that's where we are as a society today interacting with this kind of technology, is you are struggling to understand how you got this output. And that's something that people want to solve and need to solve. Another company right here in Toronto, which is fantastic, I think raised about $125 million round recently with some pioneers in the transformer models, also doing work here. And same, I'm guessing the same challenges that they're having. Had the pleasure to interact with a couple people on their team and see a lot of amazing work that they're doing. One of the ones that we talked about was they have this auto transcript editor, which I think is an amazing system. Had some challenges with the amount of characters that you could then input and then correct. You had to sort of batch it all and then remerge it all together. So it didn't really make sense to move forward with. But then these questions of accuracy emerge, or if they don't have the signal of the audio or understanding of who the person speaking is, they could make corrections that are inaccurate. So a lot of great applications of this kind of technology, but a lot of possible bias along the way, a lot of challenges along the way, and something that, again, lots of people continuing to keep an eye on. Glad there are ethics, people working on AI from an ethical perspective. How do you apply this? How do you train models in a non-biased way? And truthfully, like the world we have, even the access to language we have, the people, the population, you are going to have bias in these models no matter what. So we've seen these challenges firsthand at Speak AI. And many of these companies on a larger scale are facing the same thing. One of their last company I'll highlight here quickly, Hugging Face, which is hosting these models. So amazing company, great, just love what they're doing, sort of open source AI, making it a better access to these kind of technologies in this open source manner. And they're sort of hosting, mounting, storing their own language models, and as companies release their work, they're then putting it on Hugging Face for other developers to access and use. So very exciting work from all of these companies here, applying it in different ways. I think we'll continue to see this proliferation of large language models, some private, some like what Meta's done, where it's like free for non-commercial use, and then we'll see what happens with commercial use, and then other companies or organizations or just communities as a whole building full open source availability of this kind of technology. So very fascinating stuff. If you have any insights, any thoughts on this, would love to. I still have to take a deeper dive on it and see what's going on here. But pretty exciting stuff, and something I'm definitely following. A couple other quick notes here. This is going to be fun. So this is an event tonight. This event has shifted the date probably 3 times now, just because of COVID. I forget when we first signed up to go to it, but TechStack was associated with TechstackTO, put on by Braden Ream, who started VoiceFlow, which is an incredible company building sort of conversational UI to interact with Alexa, to interact with Google, and really has become a leader in that space. He likes poker, wanted to put together the community for it and bring it together for an event, and was lucky enough to get a ticket. What I'm not lucky enough is that I'm not a very good poker player, and I even had to watch a reminder video of myself yesterday. So I'm gonna go in, try to not look like an idiot. I don't know if we've been bucketed by skills, but we'll see. Hopefully tomorrow I'm not coming back, with a report that I embarrassed myself on this poker table here. But overall, exciting event, great way to bring the community together, helping work the brain, mind, generate some good conversations and have some fun. So looking forward to that, and appreciate Braden, you putting that on, and everyone who was involved in making this a great event. So looking forward to this a lot. And it's nice out, which is great. And then last thing, just a quick note. I think this is sort of fun. I'm going on a podcast today. Ray Christian, who has actually done some really incredible work in text analysis and audio and video analysis, applying that to mental health, and then now looking deeper into sort of psychedelics, has released this podcast, Psychedelic Diaries, and I'm on it today. So I'm going to record an episode and probably be posted sometime in the future, so I'll share that out when I do. But he's got some questions for me. I'm going to answer those questions. questions, a little bit more focused on psychedelics and then the actual AI space, as well as just some fun conversation there. So again, I'll share that out when you do it. And you know what? He's doing a good job. He's blowing up on TikTok here with a bunch of these, just a bunch of content around psychedelics, sort of spiritualism, and challenges with the space, challenges with the work that you do with the medicine, and even sharing some clips from some of these podcast episodes. So maybe I'll even see myself on one of these TikTok clips. My own TikTok journey is quite interesting, and at some point I'll share more on that. But man, it's a whole other world in there, I can tell you that, and one I'm both interested as being part of, but also quite, I've been lost in the scroll a couple times already, and I just can't allow that to happen. So I think that's everything for me today. A couple topics there. Large language models for Meta. That's all. Great to have you back, sir. TechstackTO Event, playing some poker. Hoping not to embarrass myself. And then lastly, the Psychedelic Diaries podcast recording. So if there's anything else that you're thinking around any of these topics, always feel encouraged to send me a message. Thanks again for checking this out. Hope you have a great rest of the day. Bye-bye.